who came to visit, and maybe my father and my grandmother coming to meet you, or maybe going out for lunch or something.
So that's the fun thing, that we came, and my father was we got into a taxi on reaching Kurmayur, and he told the taxi driver, I want to go to the house of Tony Gobbi. Now the taxi driver didn't know where or what, so he got onto I remember this, he got onto his radio and asked all the other taxi drivers in Kurmayur.
Do you know where it is? But
yeah.
Kurmayur is very small. Really
small town. So the taxi guy took us to the house, and what I remember, it's a long time back, but what I remember is that the house was just above the road.
Yes, it's the same house.
Same house?
Same.
Just above the road, and there were stairs going up.
Yes.
And a small garden, but the house was above.
Yes.
Yeah, and we walked in and we knocked at the door, and he asked, and Gioacchino opened the door.
Yes, my father.
And Romilda.
Romilda.
Which year? Well, she was around in 88, right?
Yes, she died in 2008. So
in 2008, so she was there in 88, so 2008 yes. She died. So yes, she was there, and Gioacchino, and and he just mentioned this, and very warm welcome, and we went in and sat, and I think we spent the afternoon together.
Yes.
And we walked in sort of unannounced. He didn't know, Gioacchino didn't know we were coming, and we didn't have your contact details or anything.
Nice.
So it was after that many years.
It was you with your father and mother?
It was me with my father and mother, yes, the three of us, yeah. So this was 88, and he knew him from 62, 63 after the Everest expedition. So from 62...
But they must have not met after?
They probably didn't meet, because in 70 he died.
Tony didn't come back to Asia after.
He didn't come back to Asia, so that's what I was unsure about. And he died in a mountaineering accident.
He died in a mountaineering accident.
Where was that?
In the Dolomites.
Oh my gosh, okay. How different things would have been had he...
Yes, the story from my side of the family is actually that he died on March 1970. He was 56.
He was just 56?
He was just 56.
Oh wow.
Yes. And it was completely unexpected.
Wow.
Well, first because he was
young. Yeah.
Too young to die actually.
Yes.
And he was he was very famous for being super fit, but no, on skis. Actually.
On skis? Oh.
On skis. Actually, they reached the summit with skis, but the last part was without skis. And so they walked on the ridge, and walking back to the skis, one of the guys in his rock party fell and took them all down.
Took them all down.
This is how he died.
He was 56, so I mean he could potentially have lived another 40 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had he not, and that was 1970. And his wife.
This was totally unexpected, and my parents, so my father and mother, were married just 2 weeks after that.
Oh my gosh, they got married 2 weeks after that?
Yes, it was already, everything was already
arranged.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, 1970.
And it was such a shock
that
he's dead, that in my family no one ever spoke about it.
Oh my gosh.
Like, consider my grandmother, she was 49 at the time.
Wow.
Until she died, in her room there was a closet with all Tony's clothes in. Like he had left.
Yes, yesterday or something.
Yes, for the weekend.
Yes.
And so nobody was. And I remember when I was born in '78, so a few years later. And I remember when I was a kid, I was curious about this grandfather, and about anytime I asked, I was like, wow.
You were,
that is how it always happens, because I have an older sister, and before my sister or I were born, we had a brother who died at the age of 2.5 years.
Ah, okay.
And to date, I don't know the exact story. I know he fell from a balcony.
But no one ever told you, and you could not ask him.
Yeah, it's one of those touchy topics, and you want to know, but whoever you ask, they say, oh no, just forget about it, it was so long back, or just, it's too tough to talk about it. And you never know, and you want to know, but it becomes difficult to ask. So
yes, so for this reason it was really and this is also the reason why Tony's story is not very known.
That's why you're now...
Because he was not as famous as Bonatti or other climbers, but quite famous for his time, and he did a lot as alpinist and also as mountain guide. But the story is not known because our family was the first one not to talk about it. So it's actually what...
So that must be known.
And now you're changing that.
And then when my grandmother died in 2008, so if you met her in 1988, she was still in good shape.
Very
Very good shape, and she was in good shape, let's say, until the end of the 90s, early 2000s, end of the 90s. Oh, thank you. I'm okay with the cake. And at the end of the 90s, she started to have some health problems, and then also the health slowly was going away. So she died in spring 2008, but the last
2-3 years.
yes, maybe also 3-4, she was really, she always had some, like a lady with her all the time. And she could walk, but she always needed help in the house to do anything. And I also had the feeling that sometimes she would recognize us and sometimes not. But she was, when she died, she was 87, so
kind of Alzheimer's.
yes.
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 And who are there in your family now?
But when she died, then my father and his sister, they organized, they let's say cleaned the house and they organized all the documents. So we had all these photos and letters and documents on my grandfather, and now I took the chance to
bring it all out and learn about it yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because he was a path breaker. Tony Gobbi was a path breaker because not only was he a mountaineer, he was a manufacturer who pushed the industry.
Yes, he was also, he did
and pushed for safety, pushed for high quality ironmongery and mountaineering materials, and so he did a lot of things for the industry.
So I found all this material that my father collected and my aunt, and I said, well, we should write the story.
Yeah.
So I spoke to, but I needed someone to have time to read it all. So I found this journalist that I know who's in charge, who writes about mountaineering and all this, and he started to help me, and he said, well, we have to look for someone who knew him. So I said, he's dead for over 50 years. It's difficult. But anyways, we tried to look for someone who knew, and we actually found about 15 people who knew him, who are of course
over
80 and above.
Yes.
And so we went to interview these people.
Oh, good.
Which are quoted in my articles. But the first one that is alive, and this I knew she was alive, is his sister. He has a sister. Because
and she's still around.
Tony was from 1914.
1914 born.
Yes, born 1914. He had a sister who was born in 1916.
Okay.
She's dead also, for age reasons. He had a brother who was born in 1920 and he's also dead. And he had a sister who was born in 1931.
And she is
still alive.
Still alive, and you interviewed her.
She's still alive, she's 90, she will be 92 this year. And she's in good enough shape.
Right. And she remembers it all.
And
yes, the head is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
She's a little bit deaf, and sometimes she walks with a stick, but she's she remembers very well.
Wonderful. And who else is your family now? Who else is there in the family?
Who else is there in the family? And on the side of Tony and Romilda, they had one son, which is my father, and one daughter, which is my aunt. And then my father had me with his first wife, and my sister with his second wife, who's 10 years younger than me, and my aunt, so the daughter of Tony and the sister of my father. She has two daughters who are, let's say, around 35, and so basically that's.
So everyone's in the Courmayeur Aosta area?
No. My father's side is in the Courmayeur area. My aunt, she lives in Milano.
Okay.
She has a house also in Courmayeur, but she lives in Milano.
And the old house in Courmayeur is still there? Who lives there?
The house that
which I remember visiting.
The house that you visited, it's actually my father lives there.
Oh, he lives there?
In the top floor, and the other floors are rented. He rents them for the season.
How old is your father now?
My father is from 45, so he's
45.
78.
He's not involved in the work, functional part of the work, is he?
No, not anymore. We had actually big fights over that. I went for the university to Milano, and I stayed there for a few years after university. Then in 2007 I decided to come back and work for the company, and for some years, from 2007 until the end of 2017, we worked together, and we were kind of slowly moving responsibilities from him to me. But then we were this didn't go too well, so at a certain point I said, listen, there has to be
Not
only,
to work together.
there has to be one, only one who decides, and if it's you, okay, but I go do something else. If it's me, you're welcome to stay, but
You have to be the decision
I
maker.
have to be the decision.
So you're now running the whole show?
Yes.
That's a big responsibility,
What he said is he didn't like this, and he said, no, if I don't decide, I don't want to play anymore, and but you cannot go on without me. And I said, okay, let's see.
And it happened just fine.
It happened just fine. Yes.
Good. And you've grown the company. You've done well.
Yes, it's been difficult years because it's like COVID and everything. But last 2022 was our best year ever. So.
Oh, wonderful. Decathlon's not approached you to buy across the border, not yet.
Not yet. But if we want to sell, we can sell.
You can, but you have no reason to. You're doing well.
I have no interest in it, but I receive 2-3 times a year people who come and ask for that because we are a good brand. We are very global but very small, so and known for high quality, and we have a good image. So, but the company is going well, and it's but in the family it's only me who's running.
Yeah, it's you who's running. How many people do you have?
Around 50 people.
50 people, all working in the Aosta area.
Yes.
Between home and Kurmayur.
It's
factory
actually we moved it. It was in Kurmayur until 2009, and then we moved it just a little farther down Aosta.
Down the valley in Aosta.
Down the valley, yes, 50 kilometers.
There's an industrial manufacturing area there.
Yes, and it's Kurmayur is not the right place for
Manufacturing,
manufacturing. It's like tourist
and home, you moved out to Aosta. That's where you live.
Yes.
And you've got your wife and your 13-year-old
I have
son.
Yes, my wife and my 13-year-old son.
Where is she from?
She's from Milan, actually.
Okay.
I met her in Milan, and then we came to. I convinced her, let's say, when we decided together to move to Aosta.
Zaranchi? Yeah. Can you just set up a quick time lapse, please?
Can I stop this?
Yeah, just set up a time lapse on that.
Can I stop this?